What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now for today, we're going to be jumping into our indie comics weekend. I have 3 indie comics that we are going to cover, starting with Stellar Odyssey issue number 3, coming from Unparalleled Comics. Now, we did cover issues number 1 and 2. Go ahead and check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on this super awesome line. Now, this is written by Brian Hawkins. Illustrator is Elton Tomasi. Colors are Avery Ferdinand, and letterer is Francisco Zamora. Now, in the last issue, we left off with Attila Banks trying to procure a healing herb. Now, this healing herb seems to have some very high value properties, but in the process of trying to get this herb, they ended up crash landing on a planet called Ethereum, only to be met by the planet guardian, the Knight of Bellaterra, known as Shay. Now, if this comic is something that you guys are interested in buying, check out the links down in the description. You can check out their Facebook page, you can check out their website, talk to them about getting digital copies of all of these issues or physical copies if that's something more to your liking. And be sure to keep up with their social media pages so you know when the next Kickstarter is going off. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we dive into issue number 3, we are picking up with our Knight of Bellaterra, Shay, having the healing herb in his hand and telling Attila Banks that they need to back off, telling him and his crew that it's time to step away. And right now, they are at a standstill because Attila Banks is refusing to back down. Now, Shay and Attila, they seem to have a long-standing history. Remaining unclear from most of this comic, Shay knows that Attila is definitely a threat to security, and he can already predict what Attila Banks is about to do. And he tries to warn him, tries to tell him, if you miss, there are tons of civilians standing nearby. To not pull your weapon out, do not fire it. But Attila Banks drawing his weapon, and we see the battle begin. And so while Attila and Shay are going face to face with one another, we have the individual that was trying to steal this healing herb, trying to make its escape. And that's where Link and Sekhem, the rest of Attila's crew, that's where they step in and go to take this guy down. And we see Sekhem grab her blades and throw them, and they fall right into this guy's back. And these are like full-length swords too, so it's not like an easy task to throw these kind of swords and have them land into somebody. And in the background, we have Attila and Shay still battling out, Shay just using some kind of energy sword and deflecting bullets with it. And though Shay is extremely skilled with this sword, we see that he's not able to block every single shot, and he ends up taking one in the shoulder. And this fight is over with. But what we see here is Attila having no intention of killing our knight. And it seems, in fact, Shay owes Attila some kind of favor. Some kind of debt is owed to him. And with Attila now having the healing herb, he asks the knight if he can find him some kind of ship to be able to get off world. And Attila Banks, of course, is even willing to steal one to be able to get off planet. Now, this is where we pick up with Gravelock and his crew, currently hunting down Attila Banks. Now, part of Gravelock's crew is an ex-knight of Bellaterra, and her name is Tasia. And she's worried because she knows this planet is under the protection of Shay. Now, this makes Gravelock question her just a little bit, because at the end of the day, she is nothing more than a traitor to the Knights. And he makes it a point to show that she is some kind of afraid. And to a point she is, because she knows which knight is protecting this place. She knows that it is Shay. Now, Gravelock has no concern of this, because Shay being a protector, Gravelock only assumes that Shay would side with them in bringing in Attila Banks, a known criminal. And as they make their way onto the planet, this is where we pick up with Attila currently patching up our knight Shay. And as Link is working on patching him up, Attila wants to know where the ship is that they're going to have to steal and how many people they're going to have to go through to be able to steal this ship. And Shay lets them know that he knows a place, and with him being, for the most part, patched up, they head their way out. But they're ensuring to keep Shay in some kind of shackles, in restraints, because at the end of the day, he is a crafty individual. His reputation definitely precedes him, and it's something that we want to take extreme caution with. But that's what will bring us to what appears to be some kind of giant hangar with tons and tons of ships. More or less, this is a private military company. But as a Knight of Bellaterra, he has full access to this place. So for once in his entire vagabond life, Attila Banks isn't going to have to actually steal something. Shay is more than willing to give this to him. Now, as Shay is bringing them along to this new ship that they're going to be going in, he really wants to know who this healing herb is going to be going to, who he is selling it to. And Attila refuses to give up his seller. Kind of honor amongst thieves, if you will. Now, currently, Gravelock and his crew, they are hot on the trail of Attila Banks. Finding the location where they last had their scuffle, they know that they are really close. But as they are getting closer, this is when their ex-knight, Tazia, disappears. Not only that, but the person that paid them to do this entire job, to kill Attila Banks, they're getting very thin when it comes to their patience. And if Gravelock doesn't come through soon, he is going to hire somebody to terminate them. Now, picking back up with Attila and Shay, getting greeted by local officers, Shay kind of dismisses them, lets them know that he's going to be checking out a ship for these guys and he's going to sign any of the required documents to ensure this happens smoothly. And because the Knight of Bellaterra is here, nobody is questioning this whatsoever. And so with all of this, the debt is paid in full. Shay no longer is indebted to Attila Banks. And he tells Banks, you know, there was no need to be holding me at gunpoint and keeping me in shackles. I would have more than willingly done this for you, to help you out, to pay the debt that I owe you. But Attila Banks, he's someone that has always been in a kind of bad lifestyle, in the vagabond lifestyle, in the smuggler's lifestyle. And so his trust for anybody, even somebody as honorable as Shay, he doesn't trust them. And he's always going to take the precautions necessary to make sure that he doesn't have himself caught unguarded. And so with them arriving at their ship, Shay tells them, you know, I don't ever want to see you again. Take this ship and be gone. And so we see them load in the ship, preparing to take off, only to be met with Gravelock in another ship directly in front of them, ready to gun them down. And with Gravelock having these guys in his sights, down on the ground, we see Shay, our Knight of Bellaterra, facing off with Tazia, our traitor knight. Now, as soon as Shay sees her, he immediately knows what's about to go down. This is about to be a fight. So her name must be well known. A traitor to the knights, a traitor to the code. And with her dual wielding these energy swords, we see hers and Shay's clash together. And Attila Banks kind of at a standstill right now, not knowing what to do with Gravelock right in front of them. Gravelock telling him that he just needs to surrender, but Attila Banks, he doesn't have that word in his vocabulary. And if he can't go around him, he's going to go straight through them. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I personally really enjoyed this line. You know, you can get a lot of Star Wars feel from this line, which is something I truly love. You know, you could easily make this a Star Wars story by switching out a few Jedi, a few soldiers here and there, a few bounty hunters here and there, and you have a Star Wars story. But this one is set apart just well enough to make you feel like you're in a completely different universe than anything Star Wars related. And while I know a lot of artists, a lot of creators don't really like their work compared to other works, which I get that 100%, but you cannot deny the inspiration that is drawn here. Like Attila Banks and his connection and his resemblance to Cade Bane. Honestly, this has to be one of my favorite lines coming from Unparalleled Comics. The dialogue is always really phenomenal. The artwork is on point. The covers, the variants that you guys have for these, it's absolutely terrific. I am extremely excited to dive more into the Knights of Bellaterra and find out exactly more about their lore, where they come from, how expansive it is. And that's the great thing about Unparalleled Comics. They are working very hard to create a very expansive universe that's telling multiple different stories from all across the universe, which I think is something extremely unique and something a lot of indie comics, they don't really try to tackle. But these guys have been doing it, and they have been doing it so freaking well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you don't miss any of the content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.